to get people interested in Collaboratory. So one of the pieces of my introduction to Collaboratory presentation is talking about the activity as a central unit of analysis, but also talking about options for folks to request their data. So request, raw data, or request versions of the reports that Collaboratory creates, or branded reports that I can make for them. And that's seeming to work really well so far, which is very encouraging. I like to see people excited about data and interested in using data. So I'm really hoping that that continues to be a hook that gets people interested and gets them to invite me to speak with them in more depth.
And having individual conversations with program directors, or particularly those who are running the licensure requirement, like licensure teacher prep programs. It's been fascinating seeing the different types of relationships that are in, say, a school or in a community or in a town. And we're starting to really peel back some of the layers of the relationships. And so we might have one organization or one school, and we have fellowships, we have service learning hours, we have teachers, we have practicums. And so we are getting a more holistic sense of who's doing what where. But now, seeing the breadth of that we're at that stage where it's super, super messy, because we're kind of teasing it apart. And it's I don't know if any of you are knitters. My mom's a knitter, and if she misses a stitch or gets the design wrong, she rips it all out. And so that's what I feel like we're at, we're ripping all the threads out to see what we're working with before we start putting it back into, to get the nice pattern that we want to see.
The administrators or the folks that might use this data, here's a snapshot of the type of information we could provide you more readily and easily than what I've been able to do in the past, which is you can request something and I might be able to get you something in a week or two, because I have to pull data from about 6 different places and make meaning of it in order to shoot it back out to you. Compiled within Collaboratory as part of their accreditation report, which was really great to have that as an example of what folks are using. So ultimately, our data show and tell, at least currently, is really utilizing the reporting mechanism that exists as an admin and sitting around a table with folks and saying, hey, this is how we can slice and dice this information and look at the quantitative, but then also say, here are the courses, or here are the faculty, or here are the pods of students or the student groups that are engaged in this work. What sort of other questions do you have about what this engagement looks like, how it relates to retention, how it's impacting recruitment? And that has led to a lot more meetings.
Just a perfect example to show you what's in Collaboratory and what's not. That this is just Google Maps, guys, and Google Maps with school corporations and their address of all the school corporations in the state. So all the blue dots I would have gotten on a map of Collaboratory, but the red dots, because they don't have a partnership, the university doesn't have a partnership to the red dots, but everyone can search your Department of Education database. So this slide, which you can't see very well, is actually separating out where we have student teacher placements in a K-12 school, where the relationship isn't a placement, and then where we have both. And the key piece for me is to see how many of those pink dots exist are actually to illustrate within those school corporations. We have much more robust relationships than what you think are actually happening. This is where I'm getting back to categorizing your partnerships by the nature of that engagement, and then looking at the robust depth and breadth pieces. All of you, we use a software called Kumu. This is the actual version of it. And at any point you can focus, it's free. At any point you can focus in on it. And so that's IUPUI. And the thicker the line, that's Indianapolis Public Schools right there. The thicker the line, the more activities that you have.
Data from IU, and so I got admission data, to see how many high school students from the corporation that we have engagement are applying to IU. So really see the relationship between our effort for the engagement with higher school students applying to IU. And that's so important for us to see like the effects, the impact that we might be creating in Indiana.
With respect to community engagement here at IUN, what was the community thinking about our role, about our activity in the community, and then also what were they thinking about Collaboratory, because this is going to be a new tool and it had a public facing aspect to it. And so we went out and actually with a little bit of data in Collaboratory, started to hold some focus groups so that we could better understand those two things. How are we being perceived, and what does the community think about the value of Collaboratory? And in that process, we learned a lot. We then redirected our efforts once we understood that the community really needs to have an improved awareness of our connections, the campus connections. And so we started to use Collaboratory in presentations to the community. So for example, we went to chambers of commerce throughout one county that we have. Many of our faculty members are in those chambers. We leverage those relationships. And we said, look, this is what we're doing in our community. This is how the faculty that are your members in the Chamber of Commerce are actually working with communities, and here's your activity. It's like they didn't even know that it was there. So we would say, hey, here's your activity. And they were very proud of that. They were very excited to see that. And they also saw it as for us, which was amazing. They also saw it as a vehicle for them to connect to other community partners, because when we